Jay.
I'm Shani.
And so today we are going to talk about how we met. It's a long story, but we will try to condense it as much as possible.
So we are married and we have been together for
15.
It will be 4 years this November. And we both are educators and artists and entrepreneurs and mommies and a whole bunch of other stuff. And we always have conversations about how we don't really know a lot of LGBTQ families. And so ironically enough, we ended up watching people that we don't know in real life online, and that made us feel like we found a community, even though we didn't actually know them. And so we just wanted to add to that space and also kind of document our life, our journey, the things that we do as we are growing, doing things to make us better so that our kids can one day look back at it and see how dope their mommies really are, because they don't know it just yet. No. So that's why we're here. And so this particular video is
about pretty much
how we met.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So basically, I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee, and so I ended up relocating to the DC area in 2014. And so during that relocation, I ended up meeting a group of people who okay, so during that time I used to dance and heavily. I'm trying to give this story in a way where I'm not throwing shade towards anyone or anybody. And so
life happens.
Yeah, so life happens. So I used to dance heavily. I used to dance in the church a lot. And then when I relocated here, I started dancing with a dance studio. And with that dance studio, I was connected to this dance studio also, just kind of doing a variety of different projects. And, you know, in my head, like, dancing has always been something that I really had a great appreciation for. It just never fully manifested physically for me. Like when I try to do some choreographed dance moves, I mean, I'm okay, but you know, it never really looks the way I see it looking in person. So anyway, I wasn't like a dancer, but she was a dancer, and then I was just kind of affiliated with this group just by way of just doing different things with them and absolutely supporting them. And so then we just kind of met. And no, that's not what happened. We didn't just kind of meet.
We did. There was a class and we were in it.
No, so rewind, because I like to give, very important details that led up to it. And so when I moved in 2014, and January 4th, 2015, I ended up going to church. Her and her friend were supposed to be at the church that night, but they ended up moving to California. So they were planning to move to California, so they ended up moving to California. So I was just there. I'd heard of her and her friend, and so I was just kind of there. And then in June, during the production time, her and her friend ended up moving back to the DC area. And so as I'm going to get my praise garment, she's the one to hand me my praise garment. And so like I like to give details about like, you know, the little small things.
But that wasn't necessarily something that led to us being
But it
together.
is. Everything matters.
Okay.
It didn't lead to us being together, but I feel like everything leads to us being together.
Well, yes. Okay. And, you know, I'm just trying to focus this story on the pieces that involve us.
Well, that did involve us. You handed me the praise garment.
I handed her the praise garment.
And ironically, she thought I was my best friend. And I wasn't.
I did. And we didn't really know each other then. It was just kind of like heard of. But even still, there was no romantic.
It was no
interest.
Romantic or anything. I mean,
Yeah.
but even when we first... Okay, so there was no romantic anything.
Mm-mm.
And so she handed me the praise garment, nevertheless. And so after the production and everything, I ended up seeing her in a class that I took at the dance studio.
Yeah, I was in this class.
And
also.
she was in that class. And so after the class, we used to sit and have conversations and we used to dialogue about some of the stuff that was in the class.
And not just me and her. It was like
just
a
group of us.
You know, just kind of debriefing on what we talked about and then other things in life and just kind of just real world what we're dealing with. And I think we kind of realized like, oh, we click on some things. And so even in that space, it was just like, oh, this seems like a cool person. You know, unfortunately, it's so hard to find people who are genuine when you come in contact with them.
Especially out here. Let me not throw no shade.
She say throwing shade on this area.
I just think that down south, those of you that are from down south, y'all know that we have
this area, by the way, I am originally from DC. I was born in DC, raised in DC. I've also lived in Maryland.
So the DMV area. I just feel like the DMV area.
People who are not from DC say DMV.
I gives no fuck.
But where she live?
But at the end of the day,
where she live?
No, I rock to DC now. I do. I rock Tevin with DC. Okay. But at the end of the day, before meeting her, like the people that I encountered, they just, you know, there's no sense of love and community, and so that I'm used to that down south, and so I didn't see that coming up here. But
it's just different.
Nevertheless, so she ended up So with the class, we ended up, you know, talking, and we ended up, you know, I guess kind of building a, small,
like a friendship.
We were like associates, kind of, and so her friend ended up needing a place to stay for whatever reason, and I open my house up. I'm always opening my house up, and I need to learn how to not do that. But
she knows how to not do that now.
I know how to not do it now. But but I'm always opening my house up, and so I was like, you know, definitely, I'm feeling sorry for her. I'm like, you can definitely come here, because she, you know, I felt like she was really in need of a place to stay.
Yeah, she needed a place, and I had just lost my car, and she lived off of Minnesota Avenue.
Don't tell nobody where I live at.
I mean, you don't live there now.
Okay.
So anyway, it was like right there by a metro, like public transportation.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, like this would be great because where I was living at, like I said, I had just lost my car, and so it was really hard for me to navigate transportation. And when she had offered for my friend to stay, I was like, oh, I mean, can I stay too? And she was like,
bet, of course, because that's who I am. And so I'm like, you know, I'm cool with that. And so,
and then also though, we all were still frequenting the dance space, so it was just kind of like, okay, we're going in these same spaces. It seemed like, oh, this might be like an easy thing for us to do, to all go here and that sort of thing. I think that's probably more so what it was
Because at that time, I didn't have a car either.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
And at that time, I didn't have a car either. And so I would like take the metro and things like that to the studio. Things like that.
And then I cook, and then she didn't really cook like that. So I think it was a situation where we, or maybe she, and then I also was thinking like, okay, we have these different things that might benefit each other.
So if we bring them together, let's kind of
help each
other out where one person may be lacking. And so that is kind of literally what it was. We were like friends, we were cool, and it kind of started out as that.
Yeah.
And then so they ended up moving in. Her friend, for various reasons, saw something that me and her didn't see.
Right.
And she pretty much insinuated that we had this connection with each other that we didn't really see that we had,
or that we were kind of like plotting.
Yeah, but we were not plotting. There was no plotting. There wasn't.
There wasn't.
Like, honestly,
she
like,
was talking to someone.
I was talking to a guy. She was talking to a guy.
So
it really was nothing. None of that. And so, you know, contrary to popular belief, it was not. So with that being said, as we continue to know, so I ended up starting on my second master's degree, and so I would have to drive to South Carolina. So I would rent a car, drive to South Carolina, and then her and her friend actually ended up
enrolling in the program and offering to split the drive. You know,
because it was like a 9-hour drive.
Yeah,
and so I used to do that like twice a month. And so it was like a 9-hour.
Once again, thinking, it would be better if multiple people are splitting this thing instead of just one person doing this thing. And also, the program was really a really cool and interesting program.
It was like arts integration.
Yeah, like merging education
and the arts together.
And so right up my alley.
Yeah, because she's definitely. We're both an artist, but
yeah.
she does more so filmography. Is it filmography? No.
Probably dabbling in the media arts, like film.
She does a lot of media arts and stuff like that. Yeah, and so, nevertheless, we started this program, and so we would go back and forth out of town. That lasted for a month with me, her, and her friend. And the next month, her friend was no longer in the picture. She ended up leaving.
Right.
Yes, and then me and her would just do the drive. Yeah. And we were still pretty much cool, but I think like through communication, and through there was a chemistry, undeniable chemistry. I think that's really what it was. It was this undeniable chemistry between us two.
And we initially read it as friendship.
Yes.
So we knew that there was a chemistry like, we kind of click. But we automatically read it as friendship. We didn't look at it as, this means a romantic relationship sort of thing.
Right.
And I think because we read it as friendship, that allowed us to be open with each other in ways that led us to a romantic relationship, I think. Like there's something to be said when people always talk about how, you know, whoever you end up being with, you should be friends first. And that's true because oftentimes when you started a relationship with the intention of being romantic, like we all know how it goes. You try to hold back certain things, or you try to not reveal certain things in efforts to show your best self to this person that you're interested in being with, right? Versus when you're friends, you're not really doing all of that. It's just kind of like...
You're a lot more vulnerable.
Yeah, you're a lot more vulnerable because it's like you can see me in spaces where I may be nervous about showing to somebody I'm interested in. And so that's what I mean by us being friends kind of led us to these vulnerable situations where we were able to be there for each other. And that build up led us to, wow, like this is actually somebody I could be with.
I could rock with. But I think the other thing was I was still like, she's a girl.
Yeah.
And she was like, she had her one spell with.
Yeah, I had been with one other female before, and
this friend to know. Oh, you didn't want me to know that?
I didn't think it was relevant, but
it is relevant.
Okay, so I had been with one other person before, and just kind of it was, in my opinion, it was a very strained, or it ended up being a very strained relationship, and I felt like it had a lot to do with, just kind of spirituality and it being a female. And I remember just being like, I'm not doing that again. So for us to end up, or for me to end up back in that space, I was a little hesitant, but not because I felt like it was wrong. My hesitation was, I just kind of finished a relationship
with the female
a year ago with a female, and it ended out going wrong. So I don't know if I want to get back in that space. Versus
mine was, I was heavy in the church, definitely Christian to the core, and there was just a lot of restricting beliefs that I had, especially in the area of LGBTQ, and so I just feel like I can't do this. I can't allow myself to go into that space. But the more I began to pray and just develop my relationship with God on my own, I was able to more so limit those restrictions and kind of just let myself be, because I just felt like that's what God was calling me to do, is just kind of like let myself be, let myself grow and into the being that He called me to be. And so I knew that I could not continue to be, I mean, because I am, in efforts to try to protect myself, I would do certain things that weren't so nice in the beginning, but she was extremely patient with me. And so
and I'm a Gemini, and so
but I'm a Scorpio, and so yeah. And so,
yeah, she was mean at times, and I think that my compassion definitely
I think it was over. You saw me.
Yeah, I felt like her meanness was out of fear, and I felt like it was a cover-up for what was underlying. I didn't feel like she was an actual mean person.
I'm actually.
I mean, she's really not.
I'm actually extremely compassionate. I'm extremely compassionate.
And if I felt like she was a mean person, she would not be someone I wanted to be with. But I felt like her being mean was just kind of this outward layer that she was giving off in efforts to kind of mask or run away from what was there underneath. And I think also I recognized her struggle somewhat. Like when I first
experienced it.
Like I said, I had only been with one other female before her, and that was my first time. And so it came at a point like in my late 20s, and so it was very confusing for me. It was very conflicting for me. I felt like so many new things were happening in my life that I couldn't really understand, and then that in turn trickled into how I interacted with people who were close to me. So I think I saw that in her. I saw the struggle, I saw the fight, and I was trying to be supportive while also still trying to respect where she was. We would have conversations where she's like, I mean,
just can't be happy.
I just can't, and don't you feel this? And I'm like, I mean, I understand that this is what you're feeling, and I respect that that's what you're feeling, but that's not what I'm feeling. That's not what I believe. That's not what I'm feeling, and that's not what I think. And you know, she was looking for me to confirm.
I was looking for her to confirm. We gotta just be friends. Like right? You're not feeling this. Like we gotta like shut that
you
down
have
and
to
just
be feeling what I'm feeling.
And so again, I at that point I was like really pursuing the guy because I'm like I can't do this.
Like she was like hard body pursuing him, and I'm like, what?
But I didn't even like the guy like that. Like honestly, I didn't. But it was just trying to like fight against the feelings that I had for her. But honestly, the feelings that I had for her were genuine, and they were. It was the first time that I actually felt that kind of love in my adult age. Of course, in shut up. And so, in my adult age, but you know, to sum everything up. Basically, what ended up happening was the chemistry between us was truly undeniable. Like we would get like different like butterflies and feelings, and like it was just undeniable. And instead of me fighting against that, I began to fall more into that love
and just.
And it was difficult, and I will give more about that, you know, in like another video. And so, but I ended up falling into that more. And so that's what ended up bringing us here to this moment. I think it was November 30th. I was like, all right, so what are we doing?
Yeah, she was just like, so
like
are we dating or what? And I was like, oh, okay.
Because I'm not for that.
But this was after like, it was just constant back and forth. And oh, okay, I do like you too. Oh, but no, I can't. And I was like, okay, I don't. I don't even know. I mean, I understand where you are, but like, I also, you know, that other Gemini side was trying to creep through. Like, you know what we do, so we need to do that. Like that pride part, and I was trying to suppress it, and then just randomly on that day, she's like, yeah, so are we dating or? And I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're doing this. And we've been doing that ever since.
So,
yeah.
Jaden, Kaden, stop!
Oh, yeah, those are the kids. 2 of them. They'll probably make an appearance.
One of these videos.
Yeah. So this is just kind of our intro to the video space in celebration of DC Black Pride weekend, and also in preparation for a lot of big things that we have just kind of going on in our life, and that we are extremely grateful to have, or grateful to be in the process of, and just happy and wanting to share that in space. And yeah.
So we hope that you definitely enjoyed the video. If you did, definitely put a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel to see more upcoming videos, as we do have more openness to give you. And so to, I guess, allow you into our space and into our love and into our life.
Yep.
All right.
Peace.